I'm so excited that we have Innovate Digital Solutions as a sponsor of heCast this season. Innovate Digital Solutions provides anything that an office might need. Hardware, software, IT, copy machines, things like that. They make an office run more smooth. And they're really good at it. But one of the things that I love about Innovate, their founders, Andre and Katia Brasso, they're people that don't just believe it's important to build a strong business, but also to take that success and build a strong community around them. They really have a heart for what HeChangedIt is doing. People they love have gone through some of the stuff that we talk about on this show. Andre and Katia both believe that you can build a life worth living, and there are these evidence-based solutions that can help build that life. We're so excited to be in partnership with Innovate Digital Solutions, and HeChangedIt is better for it, and we hope you will be too. Go to innovate.ca and check them out. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I am excited to talk, not just to talk, but to talk with a purpose. I mean, I'm always excited to talk, I suppose, but to talk with a purpose is even better. Everybody wins when you talk with a purpose. These conversations that we have surrounding men's mental wellness, first off, I just want to say I appreciate everybody who reaches out to us. And sometimes I don't necessarily do that in these intros. And it's important every once in a while to take a moment to say, hey, thank you for letting us know that what we do is important to you. We hear you. And there's been a lot of very cool conversations, connections, relationships, all sorts of stuff, but healing and helping for people. It's very gratifying to hear that. So thank you for that. If you haven't downloaded the HeChangedIt app, you go to HeChangedIt.com. You can check out what it is that this amazing social enterprise is doing, wanting to change the world, quite literally. Lots of stuff coming up. Go to HeChangedIt.com, and the links to the apps are there. They're in the app stores as well, both Apple and Google, or Android, I should say. But check out HeChangedIt.com and join the conversation. Become part of this. Today is an episode where, somebody who has joined their own conversation, started their own conversation, and is joining many, many others from across the pond, as they like to say, over in the UK. There's a podcast by a guy named Taylor James, and it's called The Waffle Shop. And it's about mental wellness. It's about music. It's about life. And really, in many ways, the podcast has become about Taylor's journey, but it's the things that he and we all can learn along the way. It was started around the pandemic time. He had just started going to therapy, and then the pandemic happened, and the therapy had to stop for a while or be interrupted. And he was like, well, no, I've still got so much to say. The snowball started rolling. And so he started a podcast, not knowing anything about how or what to do. He just kind of stumbled forward and did it. And the Waffle Shop podcast has turned into something amazing. It just really, really is. I mean, and we didn't focus on some of the guests that he's had on, but he's had on, Ed Sheeran is one example. Like, there are so many examples. Sean Paul, another one. There are so many examples of people that he has had on his show. I highly recommend the show, but I certainly highly recommend you getting to know Taylor here first. I take great pleasure in knowing that we have been able to help expose this guy who many times is on this side of the table. He's the guy asking the questions. It feels really cool being a conduit, helping people get to know Taylor James a little bit. So without further ado, heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt, is proud to present Taylor James, host of the Waffle Shop Podcast. I am so excited that you're on heCast today. I love it. There's a special kind of excitement, a unique kind of excitement that I get when I have another podcast host as my guest. And I love that because it changes the dynamic, especially for the guest. You're the guy that likes, throwing up the volleyballs for other people to kind of set and spike and all that kind of stuff. Now the ball is being hurtled at you at, a high velocity. Host of the Waffle Shop, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on heCast today.
I said it before we hit the record button, but generally it's an honor to be here. I think it comes with an extra layer of pressure though, when you're a podcaster going on another podcast.
until about 30 seconds in, when the dynamic suddenly gels. And I've heard you talk about it on your show, and I want to talk about where the roots, where it started from, basically starting in essentially your bedroom. And you have watched, like my wife who's building HeChangedIt, has watched the conversation about mental health kind of blossom around. And you started doing this at the very beginning. Is podcasting therapy for you?
100%.
Me
Literally,
too.
I say this very kind of like proudly now, but I would genuinely go as far as say that it's saved my life. 100%.
I can't wait to dive in. If we have a thesis statement, everybody, this is probably the thesis statement for the episode, because I think you and I are brothers from another mother. We may be across the pond from each other, me in Canada, you over in the UK, but podcasting is therapy. There's no question about it. I think the reason that the medium has taken off the way that it has is it's also therapy for the listeners many times. Long form conversation and listening to long form conversation. Like I don't know about you, but I used to love back in the day, in my single days, maybe I'd go see a very late movie. And after the very late movie, I would go to Denny's or a 24-hour diner and maybe talk about it with friends. And sometimes there would be a conversation happening at an adjacent table. And you listen to that conversation and you end up getting something from it. I feel like, in a way,
Just
that's
nosy.
what podcasting is.
100%. But you know, I completely agree. And I love these kind of conversations because it's quite rare that you actually get to talk about podcasting rather than this is the podcast.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. Like they've got this way of allowing you to kind of dive into someone else's world, like in quite an intimate way. Because, you're having these very open, honest, sometimes vulnerable conversations that you're kind of bringing someone along the journey with. And I think from the pandemic, we're all craving that kind of connection. So, yeah, I completely agree. It's that I think they do it in such a way that I don't think things like films and TV and even radio can do. Because this is like on your morning walk or the school run or in the gym, like you can take these conversations with you anywhere, and I think it's one of the most powerful forms of media.
I could not agree more. And also talking about the pandemic, I don't want to. Everybody's experience was different. You always heard this saying, "We're all in this together," and in some ways we were, but at the end of the day, we're also on our own individual journey. I personally felt that listening to, and then heCast started during the pandemic. HeChangedIt. The impetus of HeChangedIt was before, but heCast started during the pandemic, and I feel like I had an extra club in my bag that many people didn't have. Listeners, obviously, when you listen to podcasts, you get involved in these worlds, like as a listener, but actually doing it, I just felt that I had this extra tool that helped me feel connected during a time where everybody was so isolated. I want to talk to you. You've just celebrated the 4-year anniversary of the Waffle Shop.
Yes.
I know I don't have to ask you this question. Later on, I will. I know that if you were to go and talk to yourself 4 years ago and give a list of even a small amount of some of the moments that you have experienced in the last 4 years, the you of 4 years ago would not have believed it at all. But I want to go back to the beginning, talking about mental health back when a lot of people weren't necessarily talking about it compared to now. You didn't know what you were doing when it came from a technical standpoint and all of that stuff. What inspired you, Taylor, to start the Waffle Shop podcast? And what is it about? What is it about, and what inspired it?
So the podcast is about mental health. It's about having these kind of very open conversations, but in quite a candid way. Because I feel like mental health in itself, like as soon as you say it, it comes with almost like a stigma itself. Like it's very doom and gloom, and it's something that we all experience. Whereas for me, it was very much like, yes, I want to talk about these painful moments, but I also want to talk about how we got from that painful moment to like this beautiful moment. So it was a very kind of like open conversation, and music is one of my biggest coping mechanisms. So I'm a big believer in everyone having a soundtrack to their life, to their first holiday, to their breakup, whatever it is, as a song, album, or an artist. And I just felt like no one was talking about it, but I find it so fascinating. So that's essentially how it all came together. The other part of the question, if I could go back,
Yeah.
I think I don't think if I was to go back and say like, oh, this is what's going to happen, I'd believe you, because at that moment in time, like it wasn't for any of this that I have now. I did it out of fear because I'd got to a certain stage with my mental health that I felt like I could talk, but then we went into a pandemic. So then all of a sudden everything was taken away. So I was like, well, I need to keep the floodgates have opened now from like 2 therapy sessions. So I need to keep on talking.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer honestly, I think it was about 4 tequilas. And I was like, do you know what? I've got this idea. I think I'm going to do this. And then, I recorded the first episode in my dining room with my headphones.
Yep.
And here I am 4 years later, now sat in my own studio. It's mental, absolutely mental.
In the best ways possible. Again, I love how you put talking about mental health and how stigmas and whatnot approach it. But what did you just use to describe an unbelievable experience? It's mental, and mental health goes both ways. It goes both ways. It goes to the lowest of the low, where okay. And thank goodness, by the way, that you allowed yourself to do the therapy thing. A lot of guys, this is a men's mental wellness podcast, with HeChangedIt, obviously. A lot of guys, when it comes to mental health, that stigma is there. I'm super curious. I know how it's like in Canada, and of course, because Big Brother to the South, the States is right there. I have talked to a lot of folks in the North American realm. Over in the UK, for men, is there a stigma around mental health and when I'm struggling, that kind of a thing? Is there a stigma over there as well, or is it is that a universal concept?
Yeah, no, I think it is a universal thing. And I think it's also a generational thing. I think the people who are kind of coming into the world now, and even kind of like us, like I'm in my 30s, like I think it's a hell of a lot easier. Whereas I look at people like my dad, for example, and I don't want to kind of take a shot at him, but like it's almost too far gone for him to come back now, like because he doesn't know any different. And I think you are a product of your environment, and obviously for a huge period of time, no one spoke about it, or if you were kind of, talking about it, you were almost kind of thrown to the curb, or kind of like, oh, they're mad, don't talk to them, or something like that. Whereas now, we should be talking about it. It's very human, like natural emotions that happens, regardless of who you are, it's coming. It happens to us all. So there's very much still a stigma over here in the UK.
Okay, so it's a commonality. So you're at that point where you get to the place where it's like, okay, I need to talk to somebody. So you go and talk to somebody about it, and again, the gem that I took out of that is so many times the fear is so much greater than the actual like you had 2 therapy sessions and suddenly you realize, like, I don't know how much fear or work it took you to get to those 2 therapy sessions, but you have 2 therapy sessions and then it's got to be kind of kiboshed for a while, and you're like, well, screw this, I gotta start a podcast.
Yeah.
And to me it's like
one extreme
it
to
just
the next.
And it was Waffle Shop always, so the idea of mental health and music, that was always kind of the driving force and the concept behind the show. Would you say that it has stayed the same 4 years later?
See, I'm at you've probably caught me like a really weird transitional time.
Excellent.
Because if you asked me this question about a month ago, I would have said, yes, that's the staple. That's what it's going for. However, when I first started, I needed to talk about my mental health. I needed to kind of speak to people who had been on similar journeys, or to connect with like-minded people to get to where I am today. And I'm very grateful and proud, to be fair, that I'm at a stage where I really know how to manage my own mental health. Mm-hmm. Whereas now life is changing. I'm kind of like, my world has completely changed. So now I want to learn so much more. So it's kind of in a weird kind of stage at the moment of like, well, what does it look like? Because I've evolved so much, whereas some of the conversations, they also need to evolve. for it to kind of, for me to say, not necessarily to stay relevant, but for the conversations to stay relevant to me, because I love having these kind of conversations, whereas my world is completely different now. So
Yeah.
I still want to be that voice that kind of tells people that, yes, you know, you might be at rock bottom now, you know, but this is what could happen if you keep going. If this
Yeah.
is what happens if you open up, if you show those vulnerabilities. So yes, it's still the staple of it. However, I've kind of grown, I've evolved, I've changed.
Yeah.
So I feel like the podcast almost needs to evolve with me. So
Do you
I
have
don't
any
know what
idea
that looks
how it's
like.
going to evolve? Like how have you evolved? Like, okay, let's take that apart a little bit. How have you evolved? And obviously the podcast is going to reflect that. It probably already is reflecting that. Like I like listening to your fourth anniversary episode, by the way, is a great jumping off point. Don't just go to the Ed Sheeran one, folks. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great. And we'll talk about that in a second, because that must have just blown your mind how that
Yeah.
happened. But the fourth anniversary one is a really great jumping off point, because you and Emma, you know, do a really good job kind of summing things up as to where things were and where things are now. I know personally that, just as a listener, that your evolution is already being reflected within the podcast. But now that you kind of have said that, I think you've opened up a Pandora's box. How have you evolved? How is this podcast, this experience, how has it made you evolve? And what are you evolving into, do you think? What are some possibilities?
I mean, I have no idea. I've almost kind of created a little bit of a monster within myself. But it's the whole self-worth thing. Like, I never had the confidence before to have conversations, even down to like public speaking. If you said that to me, I'm like, absolutely no chance. It's not happening. Whereas now I'm really seeing the benefit of investing in yourself, kind of the education piece, where it can take you. So
Mm-hmm.
that little thing that started off as a hobby, almost by accident, is now my full-time job. So now I'm like, well, there is actually a big wide world out there that I want to learn, you know, like aliens, like what's at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going full conspiracy theorist,
No.
but it's these kind of things. Like, this podcast was created to help me learn and to educate myself about myself, why I behave a certain way, and essentially my mental health. There is so much more to me than just my mental health. Like,
Yeah.
this event that happened to get to this point, I'm not going to allow it to define me. So I want to explore conversations around, you know, religion, sexuality, all these kind of things that I genuinely find fascinated, that just like my mental health, I used to be scared of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, well, why shouldn't we be talking about this kind of stuff? So I mean,
Yeah, see,
I'm
to
just
me,
as in the dark as it all as everyone else is, but it intrigues me. So I feel like I want to kind of explore that side of things.
to me, it's funny. It's funny how you know, you say that, and you're you know, I don't know if it's clear in your mind, but as you articulate it, but as the audience hearing you, to me that is plain as day. It's so simple. You're just taking people on the journey with you, and
Just nosy.
the
This
journey.
comes out to it. I'm just really nosy. So I think that's
Or
to
curious.
answer
How about
every
curious?
curious. But it's funny though, because I said it in the fourth episode, like not the fourth episode, the
The
fourth
anniversary
birthday
episode.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I used to always be told off as a kid for talking too much, being inquisitive, or like, oh God, he doesn't shut up, or every parents' evening was like, oh, he talks too much, he does this. Whereas now I'm like, well, it's my job. I wouldn't
Yep.
know who Taylor was if I wasn't asking those questions. Some of my
Yep.
biggest coping mechanisms I have now are for conversations like this.
Yep.
So it's like, well, why would I not continue to ask those questions in every other aspect of my life? Because, you know, it's a no-brainer.
Mindful curiosity is a superpower, and yes, if there's a child that has mindful curiosity, genuine heartfelt curiosity, and it's quelled, that's a shot to the heart here. Oh, that's a tragedy hearing that. Is it the podcast that made you realize, make that connection?
100%. It's
Yeah.
genuinely, and this is why I say it like very proudly, like it has, I can't quite articulate just what and how this has changed my life. Like, it has given me everything that I think I needed to become the man that I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could have gone back 4 years and said like a waffle is going to change your life, I'm like, well, okay then, mate, sound good one. But yeah, I'm very grateful, and even like being on that journey with people, like I've got some of like the most incredible friends now. Like the opportunities that have come from it, like all I've done is I haven't changed the rule book. I haven't done anything different. All I've done is simply sit down with people and have a conversation and been nosy. And that's the word of the episode.
No, it's good. I like it.
But it's true. And, you know, if I can do that, so can everyone else. Just don't allow yourself to be defined by those traumatic moments, because, you know, we're all going to experience it as some part of our, you know, whatever part of our journey that we're on.
Mm-hmm.
But you've just got to keep going. You really have just got to keep going.
Everything that you just said has the there's 2 or 3 practical applications that you have experienced practically that are colloquialisms in personal development books that you read all the time, and you're just living them naturally. I'll just do one, the last one that I caught. Not everything is our fault, but everything is our responsibility. You know, our trauma isn't necessarily our fault. Maybe it is. Maybe it's something that we did. You know, it might be a reaction of that. But many times they're not our fault, but they are indeed our responsibility. And I love what you just said, because I don't know how it is over in the UK, but over in North America, there's a lot of polarization that's happening. And part of that polarization is there's this camp that's growing that seems to want to blame trauma on other factors and not put the responsibility on themselves. They talk about, oh, don't trigger me. Well, in my point of view is that my triggers are my responsibility. And if I know what my trigger is, the deal isn't to spread that out to everybody else to make everybody else conform. It's for me to deal with that trigger. That's just kind of the way that I see it. I don't know, but it seems like you've put a practical application to that.
100%. And I actually had this conversation the other day. So I'm very open. Like, I'm not the most confident when it comes to like my weight or my body image or anything like that. Like, it's something that I didn't realize I struggled with until I was in front of a camera and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's not like a huge deal, but it's something that I need to deal with. Like, it's,
a little unsettling,
I'm on
right?
my journey.
It unsettles you a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm on my journey. And I said in the recent conversation that I used to, when people call me big lad, they were like, oh, you're right, big lad. Like, to them, it's just a normal way of saying hello. Whereas deep down to me, I'm like, I really hate it when I'm called that. But a past version of me would be like, well, I'm never speaking to that person again because they've called me this. Whereas they don't know that. I haven't communicated to them to say, this is how it makes me feel. So I agree with you. That is my trigger that I need to work through. I can't sit here and be like, I mean, a past version of Taylor did exactly that. Whereas now I'm just like, well, no, this is stuff that I can work through, I can talk about. But I agree, like, your triggers are your triggers. I know there's obviously a lot of sensitive subjects out there with like that require a trigger warning, whether you've experienced it or not. Completely understand that. However, if you're triggered by something, unfortunately, like, I hate to be that person, but like, it is your situation to deal with.
Yeah. And again, don't get me wrong. Empathy is going to win the day. Kindness will win the day. You know, being able to listen will win the day. There's no question. But yes, it's very much a two-way street. And I love your example. You know, someone calling you a big lad. Some people would take that as a compliment. They would love that. But for others who have a certain little set of combinations of numbers in the way that our pathways are connected, you know, that harkens back to a memory of something. I used to be that way with the word husky. If somebody ever called me husky, I would be like,
oh, really?
You know, hey, bitch, you calling me fat? Like, you know, I mean, like,
what does that mean? Because I automatically thought like husky voice.
Oh, no. Husky. I think now I could be wrong on this. In fact, I almost am most assuredly wrong on it. So I'll just say it from my perspective. This is probably wrong. I remember, I believe it was the Sears catalog or the Sears, I believe Sears had a Husky kids section. And it was for
Okay.
kids that were a little bit bigger. I think I could be completely wrong on that, but in my head, that's probably where it came from. And it probably was something, you think about the Joe Dispenzas of the world or whatever. They talk about, you hear a little nugget when you're a kid and then it just
Sticks
grows
with
into
you.
something, bigger. I probably heard it as a kid and said, well, I don't want to shop in the Husky kid section. Or maybe I had to, I don't know. But anyway, I think that's where it came from. And it's, so anyway, I would hear that word from time to time. And people would say, "Oh yeah, you're Husky," like, and saying it like you're solid. I was a rugby player, saying it like you're solid. But I would take it that way.
As
And
a
it's
negative,
funny
yeah.
that you would say the big lad thing. That is really funny. And body image, by the way, when my wife and her team were looking at all the pain points that men are going through and why some of these mental health things exist. Lack of purpose is one of them. Not being seen, being treated as a bank machine or whatever. Go provide.
Yeah.
Don't do the introspective work. That's one of them. Body image is like number 2. And there are so many guys, you see the stereotypical, you think of your stereotypical female friends. They get together, have some wine, and what are they doing? They're talking about each other's clothes. They're talking about each other's bodies. They're talking about all this sort of stuff. They get it out. Whereas guys, many of them have
It's
these
true.
issues
When
and
was
they
the
don't
last
say it.
time? Have you ever sat
Right?
down with your lad friends and said, "Oh, I'm not happy with, my stomach. I'm not happy
Yeah.
with like the way I've got really thick thighs."
Yeah.
Now you've said that, I've never sat down with my lad mates and said, "I've got really thick thighs that I'm really not happy with."
Yeah. And we don't. like
Wow.
universally, we just kind of don't, unless you're in a group of bodybuilders, and I would submit that many of them have their own body issues of some sort,
Yeah.
or compensation issues. And don't get me wrong, I say that tongue in cheek. But unless
No,
you're
but
like
you be
focused on
obviously,
it,
obviously I can't speak for all of them, but
no,
from having the studio, one of our clients is a bodybuilder and they speak about exactly what you've just said. Like it is those little insecurities that they feel like, well, I have to, the idea of perfection, like the perfect body is me up at 6 a.m. training like legs, then going back in the afternoon training this. I mean,
yep,
everyone has their own thing, like, and I'm not kind of taking shots at anyone.
yeah, no judgment.
But it's that thing. It's like we're all kind of chasing this idea of perfection that unfortunately doesn't exist. Like what you think is perfect isn't what I think is perfect. So it's such a toxic mentality, and unfortunately for us men, like it hits a lot hard. Well, it hits hard for everyone, but I just think again, it's like that talking about like our emotions. It's a
Yep.
real pain point.
Yep. And it's quiet, like again, it's silent desperation for many of us. And it's so funny. It's like we're right now, you and I are dissecting how we started this episode. We're dissecting the power of the podcast, because now that we're talking about this, some dude out there is hearing this going, yeah, I don't like my legs either. Holy, or I wish my shoulders were bigger, or I wish this, or I wish that. And it's pretty crazy, the idea of introspection and how this world has gotten so fast, and many times we don't just take the time to sit back and to do that little introspective work. Wow, I just reacted really emotionally to that moment, good or bad, by the way. Why did I react to that? And there's primary emotions and secondary emotions. Many times the secondary emotions rule the day. Somebody will say something to us, it'll hurt us, rub us the wrong way, whatever. That's the primary emotion, is that we're hurt. So what happens? Reptilian brain kicks in, whatever. And the secondary emotion, which is anger, defense, whatever, lashing back out, throwing out a barb of your own, whatever that looks like. The secondary emotion, unfortunately, is what wins the day. But if we would do the introspection, well, why did I react that way? Even why did I react that way to that movie? A song. Why did I react that way to a song? Well, because it made me think about when I was making out with my girlfriend in high school, but when that song was playing. Okay, great. Like that introspection is so key. And I think the world that we live in right now doesn't It does encourage it. There's 6 million podcasts out there, but there's not, our governments aren't out there. The media's not out there saying, hey, why don't you take 20 minutes and get, introspective about yourself?
Do you know what? I love it because the pandemic actually forced me to do that. And I think this is why, like, I've come out of the other side of this, like, almost like stronger than when I went into it. I mean, obviously it was devastating. I can't imagine how some people have been affected by it.
Yeah.
However, for the first time ever, it forced me to stop. It forced me like to focus on what I could control. Obviously, the world at that moment, everyone went into shutdown. My mum's place went into like complete lockdown. So all of a sudden, this situation that I used to feel like I had to be in control of, I couldn't be in control of it. So all that I had to do was almost focus on like what I wanted, or, you know, why I behaved a certain way. And this is when it all started, because I started to ask myself those exact questions that you've just said. I was like, I took some time out and I was like, okay, what do you want? Because I think even if you asked quite a lot of men, what is it that you actually want?
Yep.
I think you'd get quite a surface level answer.
Yep.
So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Oh, it's so crazy. I got goosebumps all over right now. Aren't the goosebump moments during the conversations the best?
They never lie. They never lie.
Aren't they?
The goosebumps never lie.
Best parts of the day is, and I mean, you have them almost every show. I mean, I don't know about you. I've never had a bad show. I've had shows that I haven't released, and for various reasons. But there's always been something where there's been something learned from it, and I love the goosebump moments. I just had one. 5 years ago on my Facebook, I put out a question, and I'll tell you this: the person who asked that question was the person who wanted to be a podcast host more than anything, but was afraid. And the question I asked was, if you knew that you wouldn't fail, what would you do in your life? If you knew that you wouldn't fail, what is something that you would do? Or something like that. And this morning, the 5-year anniversary of me asking that question came up.
Wow.
And it was trippy, Taylor. Like I looked at it and I'm like, oh, because I have chased a couple of crazy weird dreams in the last 5 years. And well, one of them I've chased in the last 2 years, and it's a result of this show. It's a result of heCast, because similar when you talk about your evolution, I felt, I mean, one of the things I want to ask some of the consistencies. So this is a question for you to think about, that we'll get to in a second here when I'm done, being a windbag. I love there are consistencies. There are patterns that you learn throughout the show. And I know that there are some, for me, there are some for you. I'm curious what yours are. One of my patterns is that I heard from so many people early on that there are a lot of guys out there who have something inside them. They haven't done this introspective work. They haven't thought about what it is that they would do if they knew that they would succeed. Well, say you wanted to be a hockey player or a rugby player, you might not be playing for England at the next World Cup, but get out on the pitch with somebody. Get a group of guys out. Just, go for it. Hockey in Canada, same thing. Go play in a beer league. You might not make the NHL. Music. You may not be on stage in front of 20,000, but get a guitar. If it's in you, get a guitar, learn 20 chords, and you can play almost any song on the planet, and just play in your bedroom because it comes out of you, whatever it is. It's not the outcome. It's the journey to getting there. And so I thought that hosting this show, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't go and chase some sort of dream without an outcome. But I hosted this show. And so I went and did that a couple years ago. And now my life is like, holy crap, some of what you're talking about, these opportunities. And I want to get to that as well. That's the thing. It's the process that is the gold. It's not the outcome. It's the learning along the way and the journey of it that is the fun stuff. But you don't know that until you kind of look back on things. And so this question that I had asked, there were people that answered it generically. I would do anything I want, anytime I want. Well, no. Let's get specific. And I just know that the person who wrote that, if I knew that I wouldn't fail, what would I do in my life? I mean, it's a powerful question. And looking at it now, 5 years later, 4 years later, whatever it is, I'm like, oh, holy smokes, there's a lot of power in that idea, and then daring to take your first step forward. Obviously, if there's anything there that you want to, comment on, I'm certain that there is, but also patterns that you've noticed along the way. That's somewhere I want to go with you as well on this.
I think the first things first with that was the whole failure thing. Like, I think if you weren't going to fail at anything, you'd live a very boring life.
Yes.
A very boring life, because it's in those failures and in those lessons, that's when the fun shit is. Can we swear?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm just... Did you
No, I do it too. Yeah,
okay,
no, me too.
But it's in those moments, that's when you learn who you are, in those failures.
Yes.
And there's something incredibly beautiful in the failures that teach you far more than what the wins will ever do. And I'm saying that from personal experience. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm kind of speaking for you in that respect as well.
Very much.
So yeah, I stand with that, with the failures. But it's the whole kind of the what if, the pandemic took 2 years off us. Yep. So in that period of time, you can be like, oh, I could have done this, but there's nothing stopping you from doing it now. So why haven't you? All it takes is just that, whether it's a simple idea, whether you have a passion for something, just go for it. Yep. And if it's a fear of failure or fear of judgment, how much retention people have. This, we're in a TikTok generation where after 3-4 minutes, people have forgot.
Oh yeah, so get over yourself.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Get over yourself.
Cares as much as you care, honestly. And it's that, again, has been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, because again, when I first put out the first episode, I was like, well, people are going to judge me, people are going to think me like a certain way. That fear has turned into the biggest thing that changed my life and set.
It's a superpower now.
Yeah. And it is. Yeah. It's like, well, if I fail, I fail. There was one of the lessons that I did learn on the podcast. His name's Paul Brunson. He's on Married at First Sight here in the UK. He used to be Oprah Winfrey's dating coach or something. Yep. He came on the show and he told me that in every situation, there's 2 L's, a lesson and a loss. It's entirely up to us what L we take in every one of those situations. Yep. And he outright said, you take the lesson. Is it a loss? Okay, I've stubbed my toe on this table, or have I learned maybe move the table? That was a really poor example, but it's that kind of mentality of it's never a loss. You've learned something. So, try something different. Because again, it's the whole comfort zone thing as well. I think we kind of get very comfortable in the mundane, the 9 to 5, whereas, we shouldn't be just doing the 9 to 5 stuff and then going that one break is the holiday that we get to go on. Yep. You can find little bits of joy throughout the day, throughout the months. So it's kind of how you frame it and how you view it. And I know that's it might be quite a naive way of looking at the world, but honestly, it's fun.
Truth many times is naive, Taylor. Truth many times is so simple. And so again, let's go back to the personal development. You're winning or you're learning.
Exactly.
Take the word loss out of it, right? And that is a prime example. And I don't think it's naive at all. It's simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. And the power of a decision. And it's funny, in my my career, doesn't matter. I'm in the financial career, and I have got financial advisors that I help train and develop and whatnot, and clients as well. We talk about this. Yes is good, no is good, maybe sucks. And from that perspective, it's if a client is going to do business with you, if a person is going to, yes is good, no is good, maybe sucks. And it's true in so much broader of a scenario in life. Sitting in the mundane, sitting in the, like you said, autopilot, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And then you have your little holiday where you get present every once in a while. Well, that's a life of maybe. That's a life of, I'm not sure what's but with the power of a decision, when you make a decision to do something that's going to enrich your life, I mean, the power in just that decision, in not there being some, well, should I, shouldn't I, all that stuff. Once that stuff goes away, you've freed up so much RAM in your head now, and you have a direction that you're going in. It's like, oh, well, I guess we're moving now. Might as well keep moving in this direction. And that's the thing, chasing the dream. I've had 5 to 10 failure moments in doing that. Hasn't stopped me from chasing it. In fact, I am like, it's maybe double down on the effort to do it. But if you would have asked Mike before I would have started chasing that dream, and you would have told Mike one of those failures, Mike would have been like, oh, see, no, don't do it. But the moment you've made the decision, you're in the direction, the failures are actually things that make you stronger.
100%. And I'm a big believer in what's meant to be will never pass you by. A few years ago, I was supposed to be coming to your side of the world with a job opportunity. I was hosting and producing a podcast for a doctor in New York. I thought, this is it. This is the dream. This is what's happening. It didn't quite happen. And I was devastated. I felt embarrassed. I thought, well, this is it. But now, like 2 years later, I'm sat in my own studio having this conversation with you in a 10 times better place than I know for a fact than if I would have come over there. And that's not like any shade or beef. I'm not doing any of that. It's just, I know, yes, it was a dream, but it wasn't my dream. So if it's meant to be, it will be. I promise you.
Yeah. And just have the courage. The most courage it takes is at the very beginning. Again, I go back to the start of the Waffle Shop, 2 therapy sessions, and suddenly you're doing a podcast. Like it doesn't take the decision. Boy, does it start to snowball after you've made the decision. That is a really, really important part. When are you going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired? Or when are you going to make that choice to level up? And do that. If you have this hunger of leveling up, whatever that is, whether it's your it could be your relationship, it could be your vocation, what you do for a living, it could be what you do in your spare time, it could be, something that what are you going to level up to do? Or when are you going to make the decision to do it? Commonalities. I want to go back to because you've had some very unique guests, all across the spectrum of where they are and what they do. You must have seen some commonalities that have led you to where you are right now. Have you thought of any?
The biggest one straight off the hat is it's the emotion. Like whether you've got millions of pounds in the bank, whether you're stepping out like into to fight in arenas, or whether you've got Grammys sitting on your shelf, we are all feeling fear. We all feel a level of anxiety. We all get sad. We all cry. And it's that has been the biggest kind of like eye-opener, because it's just like, well, if we're all feeling this and this is a very normal thing, it's as simple as like breathing, why are we not allowed to talk about it? Or why are we being judged for feeling a certain way? Like it does. I think that's the biggest commonality of it all, is the fact that it's a very human thing to feel sad, to feel happy, to feel anger. So we should not be giving ourselves a hard time for something that essentially we can't really control.
No.
So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one.
Imposter syndrome is another one. That's a huge one that I found.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? But boy, is it empowering when you get past it, when you recognize it and go,
do you know what?
I see what you're doing.
I say this, another lesson that came from an episode was the next time imposter syndrome creeps in, ask it to prove it. Because me and you are both at a situation now, we're how many episodes deep? Like, well, I can't be speaking to this guest or this opportunity. I was like, well, you've got a portfolio of work that proves that you're very well deserving of these opportunities. So the next time it does creep in, you're like, well, prove it, because all this over here proves that I can. So it's been a bit of a game changer for me. Prove it.
That whoever said that to you gave such a gift, and you're regifting it to me and to our audience by saying that. What a simple hack. And that's all it is. All it is awareness. Like many times you're feeling this fear or whatever, and you haven't labeled it imposter syndrome, or you haven't labeled it anxiety, or whatever it is. Being able to label it and become aware of it now allows you to kind of stand up over it and defeat it with something very simple. Prove it. Prove it, right? Like, and what a fantastic little hack that is. That's wonderful. Do you remember who said that to you?
Julius Cowdery is his name. He's a brilliant, he works in the minds, mindfulness and headspace and coaching, and he's phenomenal. He's one of the only guests that I've had back on twice. I enjoyed it that much. Yeah,
Oh, that's excellent.
he's
By
a
the way,
brilliant
just so
guy.
you're aware, you are going to be one of our twice guys. We're going to make sure you come back. This has already been incredible, and I appreciate it so much.
No, honestly, my face is aching, which is always a good sign. So this
Right
is
there.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
good.
I dig it. I dig it, man. Let's go into music now because again, music. I'm a huge music guy. Our producer Joel, music is I love it so much. I can think of my favorite concert experiences in my entire life, and they are literally religious, spiritual experiences that cannot be replicated in any other way. Music is so wonderful, and the idea of tying mental health and music together. It seems like such a simple concept. Yet at the same time, I mean, there's enough room in the world for a million podcasts like this because I think music is universal. Let's go down that path a little bit.
Let's do
What
it.
are some of the music with the Waffle Shop? Sure, but with Taylor, talk about how important music is to you, and let's dissect some bands and things.
We speaking of goosebump moments. Being asked that question has just given me a chill.
Good.
I love this. I literally I could speak about this all day, every day. It's
Mm-hmm.
just always been there. Like I grew up in a very kind of I don't have a musically talented family, but
Mm-hmm.
music was always on. Like my dad used to run like illegal raves in forests. Like my mom was very like Brit pop
Whoa.
kind of like R&B kind of like pop music. So I've always had a wide range of music, like from a like but fair since birth, I'd say.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just always been there. And then when everything happened, like with my mum, it was the one thing that took me away from everything. Like once my headphones were in, that was it. Like I was in a different world. It's the same.
What happened with your mom?
So she had a routine operation. She had a slip
Mm-hmm.
disc and she had it operated on. It went horrifically wrong. And she's now in a neurological care home requiring 24-hour care. Hence why everything got a little bit too much. Like I essentially overnight became like a carer. I took on the family home. I was a parental figure to my younger sister, and it all got too much for me. I tried to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, hence why I went down a very, very dark path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then
But
from
music
obviously
helped to
talking
save
about
you from that. No, but music helped save you
100%,
from that. Yep. Let's
100%.
keep going down that path.
Yeah,
I just wanted, because I knew it, but I just wanted
yeah,
our listeners to understand, because to say that when everything happened with my mom, music was one of the only things that could help me. Like that's a powerful testament to the power of music right there.
yeah. Well, it was the
And
only
so,
thing, like even talking, like I couldn't talk at that time, like because I felt like, well, I can't because I can't talk about how bad things are for me because my
yeah.
mom is in this situation. But music, it just, these artists and these songs were able to articulate exactly how I was feeling
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I at that time couldn't. So when I needed to kind of like pull the emotion out of me, I'd lean on those certain songs or voices that pulled the emotion out of me to make sure that I did have an outlet. So it's been a huge staple and it continues to be.
Off the top of your head, are there any particular songs or particular artists that you leaned on at that time?
Adele.
Hmm.
Adele was the last gig me and my mom ever went to before everything happened.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
So
Holy
yeah,
shit.
and
Oh.
there's a song in particular. It's um to be fair. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't
No, it's
thinking
okay.
it was
It's
going to go this
okay.
way. It's called Sweetest Devotion, and Adele is singing it to her son, and it's just basically about finding your soulmate in someone that you didn't think you needed, and it was your firstborn child. Um, there's another song you may know. It's called Hometown Glory.
Yeah,
And my mom,
absolutely.
even before all this happened, my mom used to say, like, that's the song I want at my funeral. Now, being in a situation where I almost have to plan my mom's funeral, like almost like 3-4 times a year, that song for me now, I really struggle, really struggle to listen to. So
Man,
yeah,
and I mean, you picked somebody who literally is when you take music and power, Adele makes them synonyms.
Yeah.
They are, they're one and the same. I appreciate your vulnerability when it comes to that. Now, music's always been around you. There's probably the one that arguably would be most under the armor for you.
Yep.
What are some other ones that okay, I gotta ask this question here. Your dad, illegal raves in the bush. Okay, so I don't know if this may just fly over your head, but for other real music, so they might know it. If the Justified Ancients of Mumu was an actual religion, I would consider it. I'm a huge KLF fan, and so I think about British electronic music. I'm a giant KLF fan, and so the idea of your dad, that would have been around that time. The idea that your dad doing illegal raves in the bush somewhere. Are you like this 3-year-old that is at one of these things? Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
I don't think as far as I can remember, I've never been to one.
Okay.
But I'm very aware of the music and, like Underworld and these kind of bands that are just
the Orb and all the,
Exactly. So yeah, I'm very aware of the music, but I'm yet to experience it for myself. So maybe this year's the year that I kind of throw myself into the bush, into the illegal rave scene. I don't know.
I don't even know if it exists anymore. I don't even know if it's there. But
bring it back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a very interesting time in music. The electronic scene back then, and everything was a flash mob. Okay, we're doing this now, and then suddenly like all of these time, effort, resources, and people, of course, all get together for this thing that seems thrown together. Some other musical things that are important to you, and let's attach it to the show now. I mean, you talk about this moment with your mother, like Ed Sheeran's song about his mom is just it might be one of my most humbling.
To Supermarket Flowers.
Oh yeah. I mean, holy that song. My wife and I listen to that song, and she thinks about the boys, and I think about my mom, and oh my word, that song. What are some other ones for you, and musical stuff from the podcast that have been impactful?
I think the biggest one that I would say, Sean Paul has got to be. He's got to be up there, because he has soundtracked those like really kind of important years for me of like going to like parties and like my first kiss and all that kind of stuff. Like you can imagine like Temperature and all those kind of songs like playing. What another big one would be Sophie Alex Bextor. Obviously Murder on the Dance Floor now is everywhere. There's no escaping that song at the moment. Wheatus, the fact that he changed like the lyrics to Teenage Dirtbag to like that related to the waffle, like it was insane. But there's been so many. It genuinely, until you're in this kind of moment of reflection, like you forget how much has kind of happened. The biggest one, I'm saying this about everything, the biggest one.
Yeah, they're all the biggest ones, but
one in particular is by a singer called Billy Lockett. And his album, it just speaks to me. Like it really, really like grabs you. And there's like, so even the song, like the song titles, I'm just going to bring one of them up.
Yeah, please.
Because he's just incredible. Like he's got a song called, the album's called Abington Grove, and the song is called Not Okay. It is just one of those songs that, again, articulates how I was feeling at a certain time. And he's just, I'm very excited to say he's been on the show. Like, because I know in like a couple of years' time, it's going to be like, he was on my show.
You had Billy Lockett on your show?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. So and even another one, Don't Be So Hard on Yourself. He's just
really on the nose on the titles too. Like the titles leave nothing to the imagination. And then when you hear the song, I'm certain I can't wait to listen to these. I cannot wait to listen to these. I feel inadequate asking this question because it shows that I haven't researched enough, and I should have. I don't know why I didn't make the connection till now. Have you heard of a British artist named Ewood?
No, but
Oh,
any
okay, good.
recommendations?
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no. Not just him. I want to get him on your show.
Okay.
Ewood is unbelievable, and he wrote a song for his brother, who tragically was lost to suicide. And yeah, no. Okay, so Ewood, just
Okay.
Ewood. We'll make the connection outside of
Yeah.
here. He's going to be amazing. And shout out to Ewood. He listens to most of our shows. Yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure that we get
Love
you
that.
guys connected for sure. Just a phenomenal. And again, he's one of those guys too. Same thing where you have him on, and it's going to be like, oh, holy cow, you had Ewood back in the day on. That's what a great feeling that is too. Like, isn't it fun to watch people grow, and whatever the level of success is, whether it's like really public, like it's going to be for Billy Lockett or some of these other people, like Ed Sheeran's probably he's gigantic, or whether it's just personally gigantic, because I mean, it doesn't have to be famous. It doesn't have to be for the world to see success. That same level of gigantic success can happen for us personally inside. But isn't it an amazing feeling watching folks grow into or towards that?
Those are the episodes that I enjoy more. Like, don't get me wrong, it sounds all really impressive that, these names like are being dropped and stuff like that. Like, I love the fact, I'm very grateful, but it's those kind of conversations that really kind of inspire me, because I'm just like, well, yeah, we're just normal people doing extraordinary things, but we, it's I don't know how to describe it. It's just, that's what kind of fires me up more than being able to say, oh, I had Ed Sheeran on. Like, no disrespect to Ed Sheeran, obviously he's great.
No, God, of course not.
That's not what fuels the fire. It's these kind of conversations of how us normal people got through that most painful, difficult moment in our life, and it became our purpose. That for me is what that I respect. That's what I'm drawn towards, and I'm incredibly grateful that these people have become like my network now, and now it's like we're all winning. It blows me away, but I'm so grateful that this is what it's given me.
Well, there's two things I get from that, and it's the same with me. Whenever I connect with somebody who's really, really big, many times, like the best episodes with folks who may have a lot of notoriety. For me personally, it's when those people remember where they came from, and they look over. I'm not saying look back or look down. I'm saying they look over and they throw out things that show those two things that you just mentioned, because you are that way. As your notoriety has gone up and whatnot, you are always grateful and you always want to help, and none of this stuff kind of matters. And some of those people who I appreciate more than anything is when that they can look and they can share some of these things that they're going through. Somebody at the highest level of whatever. I'm a big stand-up comedian guy, and I've spoken with quite a few folks in the stand-up world and whatnot. And some of these people that can fill arenas also have imposter syndrome. In fact, they've made a career out of going up and talking about it and making fun of it. Many of my favorite stand-ups that I identify with are the ones that, put this stuff out there. I have a lot of people in my life too who are older, and maybe like even around my dad's age and things like that. And they look at what we're doing here as pointless. Oh, you're just sitting there talking about yourselves. But that's the problem, is that I think for so long, generationally, we haven't talked about ourselves to the point where they call it a weakness or they call it a misstep. But the secret is that. And when someone like on the level of Ed Sheeran, he comes on and gets vulnerable, the megaphone is so much bigger, and that means the lessons that can be learned are so much bigger. Now, so too, unfortunately, goes the other side sometimes, but we can choose not to focus on the other side. We can choose to focus on the success rather than the missteps. And so anyway, I see that in you. I feel the gratefulness coming from you today, talking to some guy you've never met in Canada, about some of these really personal things. I can feel the greatness through the ones and zeros right now.
With that, like, isn't it mad? Like, the chances of us actually ever meeting in real life are quite slim.
Yeah.
However, by the pair of us opening up and being vulnerable has brought us together from across the world. Because yes, we've never met, but we've related on the music side of things, the story, the mental health side of things. So it's just kind of like, well, why should we not be talking about it? It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're feeling exactly the same thing that I'm feeling.
Yes.
So it's, I mean,
relationship and connection is everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people can look at it as if like, oh, you're sat around talking about yourself. It was just like, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about my experiences. I'm talking about how those painful moments got me to this point. So if I can share my story and it becomes someone else's survival guide, I will talk about it all day, every day, because that's exactly what I'm taking away from conversations like this. That this is becoming part of my survival guide. So yeah, if people want to label it as, oh, you're talking about yourself, fair enough, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm talking about my experiences because, again, I'm nosy. So I want to know how we get through it.
That's a clip right there, you know, and you and I know and understand the shorts. You know, we always want to find the shorts.
That are there.
That's the part. That's the part. That is the part. I'll tell you this. I'm so grateful that we got
Thank
Joel
you for
here.
joining me.
Oh God, are you kidding? Yeah. That's because okay, because I love. This is what I love. Right, all of the nuts and bolts around it. Okay, now we got to make the little sound bites. Now we got to do this. Now we got that. I'm just like. I don't, and I do it, but I'm not fired up about it the way that I'm fired up with this. Oddly enough, when creating the sound bites, my favorite part though is going back and hearing some of the things. But the unfortunate part is, I get lost in it. I get lost in the conversation again. But what you just said is one of the sound bites. It's the survival guide. Oh my God. Like Taylor, thank you for that. Like what a great way of putting it. I'm building my survival guide. And then also, if other people can hear this conversation and they can put a morsel or two or an ingredient or two into their survival guide, well, then God, we're literally making the world a better place. And that's the intention. I know that's the intention with Waffle Pod. Let's talk a little bit. I know how this is my phrase. Time is slippery when we start doing this. I think you could probably agree with that, right?
I absolutely love it though.
It's been an hour already. Time gets so slippery, and I love it too. Number one, you have always got a friend with HeChangedIt. As the app grows and as things are added to it and things like that, you are a guy who we're always going to promote and utilize. As my wife and her team, they're literally trying to change the world. She Changed It is going to be launching as well, but HeChangedIt is where things are dire. It's where my wife got inspired to change the world because of where men's mental wellness is, the state of it right now. You are a guy who, as this thing grows, we are going to make sure that we stay connected with. I thank you so much. I'm going to invite you back, of course, standing invite. If ever you come up with a light bulb moment where it's like, oh, I want to talk to the HeChangedIt guy, please, standing open invitation. 100%. That being said, where can people find, because I'm certain, one thing I'm certain about is that I'm going to alienate part of our audience, because our audience is going to look at you and go, I like that Taylor guy. We're going to move over. So where can people find you? Where's the best place to find?
There's enough room for us all. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, to be fair, if you type in the Waffle Shop, I hope it comes up. Otherwise, I'm not doing a very good job. But yeah, it should pop up if you type in the Waffle Shop, and on Instagram at Waffle Shop Podcast. This is the bit as a podcast that I'm not good at. I can have the conversation,
me
but
neither.
It's like, where can people find you? Like, I don't know, Coventry. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just send you my pin. I don't know.
Do you interact with your audience? Do people reach out to you and want to connect with you?
I don't think we would be 4 years in if I hadn't. Like, some of the messages and the friends that I've genuinely made, like they're my go-tos now. Like, if I've had a guest on, or if I need to check in on something, I will reach out to people who I know consistently listen, like, what do you think of this? And I will take their feedback on board, because as much as I know I'm doing it for me, like the podcast, like first and foremost, like I still absolutely love it. Like, I'm fueling like my fire. Essentially now I know that I've created a platform, so I need to listen to them.
Yep.
So yeah, 100%.
And it's funny, 4 years later saying that versus 4 years ago when you were throwing it out into the vacuum and it was still great. it was still great that you were throwing it out into the vacuum. It was okay because this is the goal, the journey part of it. But isn't it interesting how that's evolved, that at the beginning, the vacuum is all right, but when the community starts showing up and the commonalities, and you realize, oh, it's like steroids. It's like, oh, I'm doing the same thing, but now it's got all of these other beautiful little pieces. The network is another one. You build this network of people who love what you're doing, and you iron sharpens iron with other people. Boy, oh boy, that again. But 4 years ago, it was okay without any of that stuff. And isn't it funny how that evolves too?
Doesn't mean evolution. We're supposed to change. This is what I mean. Like, we review, and to be fair, it's in your name. Like, he changed it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to. And even with change, like, people either fear it or they reject it or they look at it as if it's a negative. We are supposed to change. We wouldn't have summer. We wouldn't have winter. We wouldn't have autumn, Christmas, Halloween. We wouldn't have any of those things if things didn't change. So as much as it's scary, like, I promise you, like, embracing the change and going for it, that's where the fun is.
Mic drop. I'm going to do a quick outro, and then that's it right there.
I'm out.
Taylor, I thank you so much. I'm going to do a quick outro. We'll say goodbye privately, so just hang tight for a minute. That's why we do this show right there. It's conversations just like that one. My gosh. And I get, a fisherman can always recognize another fisherman. I get that. And Taylor, who obviously hosts an amazing podcast around mental health, so do we. And so the fishermen identified each other very, very quickly. Yeah, clearly, I get it. But boy, is Taylor awesome. The Waffle Shop, go search it out, go find it. Like I said, you know what? The most recent episode that to date, their 4th anniversary one, is a great jumping off point. It's really cool and it sums up. But then if you go back into the back catalog, oh, there's so much gold there. And I'm just so grateful that there are people like Taylor in the world and stumbling forward, doing what they're doing. And I mean, you know what? He might not be stumbling now. He might be skipping. He might be leaping. But boy, there's a lot of stumbling forward that we all do in our journeys. But then that stumbling goes away. And what a prime example of that. If you haven't downloaded the HeChangedIt app, what the heck are you waiting for? Go to HeChangedIt.com. You can look at the mission of the company and all that crap. You can see your app persuasion. Whether you're the Apple or you're the Android, there's a place here for you. Download the HeChangedIt app. Watch as this sucker evolves, because boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. This has been another episode of heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt. My name is Mike Chisholm. Go change something.